Hi everybody. Once again, I am Marie with Aunt Ree's Quilt Shop, and we are continuing to work on our sew along. This is week 4. The first week you cut out what you needed to make the actual blocks. You just cut out the pieces that you needed to make these actual blocks. Then the second week I showed you how to piece the individual pieces, the actual flower petals and the leaf was kind of what we're calling them, pieces. Last week we actually put the whole block together, and I showed you some tips and tricks on how to make your seams match up, and that kind of thing. So today we are cutting again. Unless you already cut it the first week and went ahead and cut your sashing and your cornerstones and your borders. If you did, that's totally fine, but that's kind of what we're doing today. The pattern doesn't give you all the instructions, and so I have some numbers for you that if you have not cut already, you might want to have. So once again, we are using this Quilter's 10-inch square pre-cut companion from Jenny Doan with Missouri Star Quilts. We are making this Prarie flower quilt here that is on the cover, and it's actually on page 35. So here's a couple of different variations on it. Here's a picture of the actual block that we are making. So last week we kind of put these two together, or the week 2 we put these two together. Last week we put this whole part right here together. And now we're going to work on the next step, which would be cutting our sashing and our cornerstones and our borders. So she gives you information at the beginning of the book, kind of telling you how, depending on how big you want to make it. Some of you are making it bigger or smaller. That's totally fine. I'm going to give you the numbers of what you need to cut if you're using the size that was on actual page 35. So if you're doing it this size, then you should have 20 of these blocks. It used 1 layer cake, and you ended up with 20 blocks. It's going to end up 74 by 89.5. And so this right here is what I'm giving you these numbers for. If you did something different, then you'll need to adjust a little bit. If you need any help, you can reach out to me, auntreesquiltshop@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram and send me a message. My phone number is also on the website, and I believe on my Facebook page. And so if you want to shoot me a text at that number, I'm happy to figure it out for you and get back with you. Or if you're just stuck on something, if you have problems getting things to match up, or something's not right, you can't quite figure it out, let me know, and I'm happy to help you and see if we can't get you figured out. Sometimes it's just a mental block, and we just need somebody else to say, this is what you're missing, or try this or try that. And so I'm always happy to do that with any of your projects. And a lot of times if it's something that we just can't figure out, I have a huge group of people that I can go and ask, and we'll get you figured out and squared away. I'll do everything that I can to help you. So hopefully this has been pretty straightforward. Hopefully some of the tips and tricks that I've shown you have helped, and it should be going together pretty easily. And if it's not, it's okay. Everybody struggles with different things. It's totally fine, and it's probably just something easy you're missing, so let me know if you're having any trouble. So once again, I'm not giving you specific sizes on what you're supposed to be cutting. I'll give you numbers on how many to cut, but not sizes, because I do not want to infringe on the copyright. Legally, you really need to buy the pattern. I can't give you all of that information here because that's taking her intellectual property, and I'm not going to do that. So when you're cutting your sashing, this is the size you're going to cut. And what your sashing is going to do is it's going to go in between your blocks. Now, if this is the top row, say this is the top corner and this is the top row and this is the side over here, I'm not going to put sashing pieces across the top or on the sides, on the edges, because you're going to have another strip that becomes your inner border. So you're really only putting, if you've got 4 across, then you're only putting 3 pieces of these in. Okay, so you're going to need 31 of these. Okay, again, I'm not telling you what size, but you'll need 31 of these to go between all the blocks. I know that sounds like a really weird number, but it works. It's exactly what you need, and it does actually give you that number if you're making it with 20 blocks like I am. So next, you're going to need to cut your cornerstones. So if you don't know what cornerstones are, they go between your sashing. So you're going to have, this is your sashing piece here. These are going to, so you would have another piece of sashing here. Then you've got a square right here that's kind of blank. So then that's going to go here. And it basically just gives it a little bit of a pop. I know I have a red shirt on, guys. Sorry. Didn't think about that when I got dressed. But you'll see it on the quilt. It just gives it a little bit of a pop and makes things just a little something extra. Okay? So you're only going to need 12 of these because they're only going to go in the center of the quilt. Again, it's not going to be on that outside edge around your blocks because that's going to be your border. So you're only going to need 12 of these. So 31 of these, 12 of these. Okay? Next, you're going to cut your inner border, which is also your background fabric and your sashing fabric. So you're going to need, I'm going to say 9 strips. It does not tell you in the book. I cut 9 strips. I have barely a strip left. I like to overestimate on something like this because the last thing I want to do when I'm putting these together is have to stop and go back and cut. My cutting and pressing table, I use the same table. And so for me to have to pull the cutting board back out and pull when I've already been pressing and I'm done cutting is kind of a pain for me. So I usually cut 1 extra just to make sure. Also, I do miter, and you can see I just barely, like that hit the end of the edge. So I miter my corners. You totally don't have to. You can also just do a straight seam here. That's totally up to you. This just gets rid of some of the bulk, and I also do my binding this way, which really helps with the bulk. But that's kind of another video. If you need to know how to miter, sew strips together on a miter, there's tons of videos, but maybe I'll do a little bonus video later on and show you how to do that if you haven't done it before. But I would cut 9 strips, and then you're going to sew them together. I sew 1 big long strip. I sew them all 9 together, and then I will start putting my border on. That works for me. I really never had any issues doing that. The main thing is don't pull and tug on either side, on either the quilt or the border fabric. You can get ruffles. A lot of people will tell you measure it in 3 places, find the average of that. That's how long you cut the strip. But either way, any way you do it, if you cut 1 long strip, you can cut the pieces and then just keep cutting. And it actually reduces your waste. So however you want to do it is totally up to you. That's just how I do it. But I would sew them all together and then cut your pieces to size if you're going to pre-cut them. The same thing with your outer border. It's just going to be wider. Okay. So cut 9 pieces. I did have a little bit left over. But again, I'd rather have an extra strip and be prepared than have to go back and pull everything back out and cut again. So my recommendation is at least 8. You're going to need 8. I would do 9, and the same thing on the binding. How wide you cut your binding is personal preference. I typically do 2.5. I know people that have done a 2, 2.25, single, double, however you want to do it is up to you. Whatever works for you. If you have questions or you need more information, again, reach out. I'm happy to help you with any of that. So, again, this week is another cutting week. Some of you may have already cut it, and that's perfectly fine. This is kind of, I just tried to kind of break it up in chunks. So that's kind of what we have planned for this week. Again, if you have any issues, reach out. happy to help you. So we are getting close to the end of October. Next week will be our last week of the sew along. And so I am going to show you it all put together next week. Mine's all in red and white, or red and cream, as you can kind of see. So the next video, I'll show you all put together. I'll give you some tips and tricks again on getting things to line up and all that kind of stuff. And we'll have, hopefully by the end of next week, you will have your complete top put together and it'll be ready to be quilted. And then you can quilt it as you desire. You can try to do it on your own machine. You can do it, you know, have it quilted, put it on your long arm, however you choose to do it is totally up to you. And then binding is be up to you also. So that is what I had for y'all for today. I hope y'all are having a great week. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Guys, I'm trying to build this channel up. If you'll hit the subscribe button, not only will you be notified when a new video becomes available, but once I hit a certain number of subscribers, it actually allows me to do some more things that are beneficial for y'all. And so I'm trying to build those numbers up. If you don't mind sharing it with your friends, tell people. And again, if you've missed any part of this sew along, you can go back and watch the other videos. And even if you're not doing the sew along, I know one of the videos I had some tips and tricks and stuff like that in that video that are just beneficial, some different ways to do things. And so I hope you got something from those. Anyway, y'all have a great weekend. I will see you next time, and I love you guys. Bye.